But the coin that I added to the portfolio today is called vEmpire.
And they are the largest decentralized metaverse investment organization in the world.
Hello, everybody, and what a lovely day it is. Let you kick off, and I'll do some button tapping in the background. You know what comes after Romy and Qcoin? When Binance. GA. We have a returning guest. New protocol. We're in for a treat here. If I remember, he had a very bushy beard last time. I wonder if he still has a bushy beard this time. Let's see. Does Baz have a bushy beard? He does. There we go.
Bushy, yeah, it's still bushy. Good to meet you again.
Bushy, yet also very trim at the same time.
More trimmed. Yes. Ready for Christmas, of course.
Oh yeah.
I was looking a bit too much like Santa last week, so I really had to kind of trim it back a bit.
Ready for Christmas, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
There we go. You hear the crickets? You hear the crickets going as I said that joke.
All good. How are things on your side? Keeping well?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, normal complaints, but it is what it is. It couldn't last forever. We knew it was cyclical. We should have known anyway. We really should have. But there we go. Yeah, no, not bad. Thank you. How's everything with you?
Good. Yeah, I mean, I'm suffering from the winter cold that seems to be going around, but I've got my Lemsip and I'm battling on. Typical man flu. And reflecting on a tough 2022 for most of us in crypto, but see what's around the corner.
Yeah, something tells me it's not going to get too much better in 2023.
Well, I've heard your predictions, and they're always full of doom and gloom. So
nobody likes speaking to me, I'll tell you. But then again, you know, so far, well, not so far so bad, let's say.
Yeah, accurate.
Been nailing them. But yeah, it'd be great to hear what you're currently up to and yeah, sort of your previous experience to those who didn't catch you last time.
Yeah, sure. So I guess, yeah, for anyone that kind of hasn't looked back through the archive and seen our first introduction, as a brief intro. So my name's Baz Furby. I guess my background is largely focused around my Web2 career, 13 years in e-commerce, working for different e-commerce tech companies. Really spent like 10 years trying to compete against the master of that space, which is Amazon, right? So I worked for a number of different retailers who were trying to retain their business against that kind of master coming into the world of e-commerce. So I spent 10 years battling against Amazon essentially to try and win business, which was a real challenge, but also a real kind of focus because they are the masters of understanding trends and consumer behavior. And I think that's a lot of what Web3 has got to kind of master and move on onwards with. So I worked 13 years in tech and e-commerce and then moved across to consulting and marketing in the Web3 space. Helped launch a number of NFT collections, did a few big fast free mints when that was the kind of hype and the vibe earlier in 21 and 22. And then we spoke originally when I was CMO at Penguin Cuts, helped them go through the token launch earlier this year. And successful TG with them before moving across onto DisruptionX, which I've been at for 10 or 11 months now. We're in stealth mode. So a lot of that has been behind the scenes as we're kind of building out our project, our positioning, our marketing, and obviously our pitch deck to go out to the market. We've come out of stealth mode the last few weeks and, thankfully get the opportunity to finally start talking about what I've been working on for so long. So exciting times.
What a place to come out, the Build CEO show. Founders can only dream of coming out.
I was looking back through the archive, actually. There aren't many, if any, returning guests. So it's good to be maybe a first. Who knows?
Exactly. I think you are. Technically, we've had like... we had that Martini guy on once or twice. I think we've had a couple of people from Cult DAO on, but yeah, you are Yeah, one of a select few, so definitely still getting that accolade. Do you want to go into exactly what it is you've been stealthily building?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of the projects I worked on have been gaming, which has been a really good fit and a kind of a foundation for the work we're doing at DisruptionX, which is we're building Web3 gaming infrastructure. So essentially, we've got two audiences that we're building technology for. One is the game developers, and essentially our core product is an SDK that allows game developers to plug their game into the Web3 gaming ecosystem. But then additionally, on top of just helping them connect up to the blockchain, we then have plug and play modules that help them add functionality to their game, which is essentially things like tournament systems for esports, data modules and AI that we'll get into talking a bit more detail that help kind of understand what's working well and what's not working so well, help them optimize the game. Guild management tool and a few other things that really kind of help focus on data and revenue for game developers. And then from a gamer's point of view, there's a portal, there's a game discovery platform that you can log into, sign up to, connect your wallet, and then play the multiple games at. So it's a destination for Web3 gaming from a gamer's point of view.
Fair enough. Why the X? X is just cool. Is the X for anything?
It's part of our branding now, to be honest. I mean, disrupting the Web3 gaming ecosystem was where the name came from, and really kind of disrupt gaming as a whole, which I think is what we're all trying to do with Web3 to some degree. So that's where the disruption came from, and then the X just makes it cool, doesn't it? And it was easier to get a domain name as well.
Fair enough. So you couldn't just be called Disruption, because Disruption has. Well, it's an interesting one. I would automatically give just disruption on its own a negative connotation, but that's because I always think of like school, and I used to always get called disruptive. But in the context of technology, obviously it's very good. But Disruption X, that just makes it, that takes away all negative connotations. You know that it makes it serious. It's like, this is Disruption X. It's like
we've got a logo as well where the X becomes part of the modules, and we've got those modules part of the SDK, so it's all kind of branded in. But yeah,
fair enough. Did you say it was DisruptionX? Is it .com or .io?
It's .io.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where the portal will live until we're all live in a Web3 world, and then probably be something different once we go that direction. But for now we've got DisruptionX.io, and we'll obviously build a like downloadable client version of the app as well, so that you can play on PC.
Good stuff. You're building a game as the sort of proof of concept for the overall SDK. What type of game is that going to be? Is it going to be just a way of introducing the concept? Is it going to stick around, etc.?
Yeah. So like I said, the SDK is the core product. It's the infrastructure that we're building. But as a proof of concept over the top of that, we're building a title of our own, which is called Line of Control. It's almost like a Counter-Strike on the blockchain. It's a first-person shooter in that kind of Warzone kind of theme. So we're building that as a proof of concept, so that when we launch our early access beta, there'll be playable game in the ecosystem that people can kind of jump in and compete with. There's all types of functionalities that I mentioned, like tournament system, and we call them prize pools. But essentially, we want to create a competitive gaming environment where we can all put a few dollars in, fine-tune our skills, and try to win more dollars back, right? So you and I could rock up and play Line of Control, put a couple of dollars in each with 10 other people, and then play a team deathmatch, and whoever wins takes the total winnings of that prize pool. So it's trying to create that competitive kind of winner-takes-all environment with gaming. And Line of Control will be the proof of concept that we'd launch that with. So that's our own first-person shooter title. And then we're co-developing and partnered with a gaming studio called Infusion Games that are building a game called CyberX, which is kind of
X. Cyber wouldn't have been enough.
It's another X, yeah. Good branding there. But that's a cyberpunk vehicle battle arena. So it's kind of like spaceships, but based on kind of retro cars, and you can fly around and shoot each other in a kind
Like
of battle.
Borderlands sort of thing.
Yeah, it should be good fun, and it feeds really nicely into that competitive gaming piece that I've talked about, where pros pool gaming, competitive gaming can really push on that not play to earn element where you just like do stuff and win, which is kind of, should we call it like the first version of Web3 gaming that's emerged. But we're pushing the terminology of risk to earn, which is more like put your skills and your money where your mouth is, and have these competitive battles and try to win the earnings that way.
Fair enough. So what would you say the elevator pitch to the I don't know Web3 and I don't know Web3 gaming? What is Immutable X to me?
So what is DisruptionX to you? So it is the place where you hopefully find and engage with Web3 games. Ultimately, as the user, we'll have our portal that you go to, and you will discover multiple games that are connected up using the same system, where there's no complex user experience required. The thing I find, and especially coming from e-commerce, is that in e-commerce you talk about a frictionless experience, and in crypto it's the complete opposite. It's just super complicated. So from a user experience point of view, we really want to do like a single sign up. We create your wallet, you play games, you have fun, and ultimately, if you're good at some of those games, you can win money. And then there's a whole, of course, NFT collectibles and in-game assets part of the marketplace and all those things. But you kind of, through the right education and the right user experience, it really shouldn't feel like crypto, because crypto is too complicated right now. So that's the end goal from a user experience point of view.
Fair enough. So would you relate it to sort of Gala Games-esque, or would you say it's more like Steam, I guess, similar?
Yeah, Steam on the blockchain is the most overused phrase in Web3 gaming, but it does represent where a lot of people are trying to get to, right? Ultimately, Steam is a very good game discovery platform that helps publish lots of Web2 games. And I think there's a lot of businesses trying to get to that place where you start to develop an ecosystem where Web3 games exist and you can traverse between those different games and have a similar experience. So that's the end goal.
Yeah, and I guess one of many reasons why Web3 gaming needs infrastructure projects like this.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there is a need for infrastructure because, I talked about the user experience being quite complicated if I'm a gamer, but if I'm a game studio, the user experience for a game studio is also too complex and quite fragmented at the current point in time. So there's no single place to go for like good resources on how to build a Web3 game. There's not particularly good advice around what a sustainable economy needs to look like. There's not good integration advice. There's not the right data and tooling available to games to understand what's working well and what's not. So by bringing it together in one platform, one SDK, and focusing on the data, the analysis, and all of those insights, I think we can make game studios' life a lot easier to come into this space as well, which is why there really is the need for that infrastructure to bring the games and to understand what's working well.
Yeah, agreed. And hopefully all of the carnage hasn't scared them off even more. Well, we'll see. But you mentioned about a few things. One of them being that particularly stuck out as wanting to hear more about was connecting data science. Tell me about data science.
Yeah, so I mean, I keep on referencing back to my time in e-commerce, right? But the reason that businesses like Amazon are so successful is they really understand what makes the consumer tick. And they've done an incredible job at providing a really good user experience on their site, and then using data to optimize and essentially sell more stuff to more people. So I think the data element of Web3 gaming is going to be really valuable, partly because the catalyst or the thing that will make Web3 gaming, really explode onto the market hasn't yet been discovered. So I think being there to understand what data exists and what trends emerge, and then being able to capitalize that and being agile and support, the game studios we work with to develop towards those trends is going to be really important. But then also I think AI and machine learning plays a really important part in kind of the next generation of gaming in terms of improving the experiences. And that's partly down to creating a fair, safe environment. So part of what we're doing and building there is around fairness and kind of anti-fraud, and really trying to understand what is human behavior and what is kind of gamified bot behavior within a game. And a good example of that could be that, if you and I are playing and you're a super advanced user, you know how to duck and dive and do all the special moves. We want to understand your level of performance in a game and match you with relevant gamers. So if you've got all of the skill points and you've got all of your expert, skills and everything, and then you go and kind of hustle, delete your account, and then go and play to earn with all of the guys that are new to the game, we want to be able to correct and put you in the right pool of players, right? Because you've got all those skills and kind of abilities that are, necessarily to be in the kind of pro ranking, for example.
But what if I want to dunk on all the noobs?
Well, that's what we don't want. We don't want to scare the noobs are the lifeblood of the future, aren't they? So we really need to protect them and give them fair gaming. So I think that's a really important point, is around like fairness and authenticity. AI can also play a really important part in the data and insights as well. So, we can help try to understand what size of NFT collection can be successful for a certain type of game. We can help balance and understand how pricing points should be, based on, past data and things like that as well. So it's really got a layer, that layer of data is just really important insights in terms of improving the gaming experience overall.
I've been talking about AI a lot recently, and I'm finding the applications of it extremely. God, that's whatever that was sounded literally like a shotgun being pumped there. I think it was your chair, but it literally sounded.
It might be my chair. Yes.
Someone's holding you hostage. Blink twice if you need help. But yeah, I've been talking about AI a lot in terms of, I believe it will, open people up to a hell of a lot of opportunities in Web3. And I think that the application of AI in the real world will allow people to realize that some decisions are better left to automated processes, where you don't have corruption, and you can, have, people always like balk at robots doing jobs of humans. But in reality, there's a lot of like decisions which, let's look at like a board of shareholders. If they vote to implement a certain thing or policy, they still have to get the CEO to actually do that. They're entrusting the actual execution to an individual who can be corrupted, greedy, incompetent, good, obviously, but rarely. And that is where an automated process where a vote equals an execution on a smart contract and it cannot be changed is much better. And I think that the use of AI will inevitably lead to much more adoption and realization of why blockchain technology is very useful. This is like pure speculation in my head, but I don't see why those two things wouldn't link together. So I think that there's definitely a lot of cohesion to be had with AI and sort of blockchain, and hopefully they can help each other out. We've been trying to launch. Well, we have our current on-platform game, but we're updating that, which should have a decent version out. So beginning of the year, we're also talking with lots of other games, as we mentioned, a lot of people are suffering at the moment. So we're able to, sort of step in and help out. So we're hoping to be able to have something similar in the fact that sort of not just the one game, but we always had the idea to have multiple. It's just all about taking opportunities as they come.
Yeah, I think there's a really big piece with data, like I was saying, I said earlier, the catalyst of what makes Web3 really kind of pop and drive towards mass adoption obviously hasn't been discovered yet. We're not at that point in time. But I think if we can continually monitor and measure all of the things that are happening, I almost imagine like a big Venn diagram, like the 3 circles where you've got gaming behavior and all of the stuff that happens in the world of gaming, like which features exist and what genres of game are successful and all of that knowledge and insights on one side. On the other side, you've got the market sentiment and the feedback from Reddit groups and social media and all of these things about what people like and why, and Discord communities and all of those things. You've got like the voice of the community, and at the top you've got almost like the transaction data. Who's buying what NFTs, what that does with the token price and all of those elements. If you got the Venn diagram of all of those things happening, kind of in the middle is the knowledge and understanding of what's happening in Web3 gaming. And if we can build that into the platform so that we've got the knowledge of insights of what's happening, what people are saying, what is proving to be successful, then you can really kind of optimize and build that probably third wave of games that is going to really, drive the market forward. So, data science, AI, all that stuff has got a million different use cases. I think the focus for us is really about kind of improvement of the experience for the user and obviously improvement of the games.
There's data science, but then there's data science X.
No, that's funny actually, because we did go through the stage when we were building out a branding of putting an X on everything we said, and then we just took them all away because it got way too cheesy. Everything was X, so we scrapped that.
Fair enough. But you should. The good thing about X's is that they're so like. If you're making a video, nobody can ever have an X without it slamming onto the screen. It has to be it's such a boisterous letter. I've never described a letter as boisterous before.
I'll make sure that our designer never does that, just so that you don't prove yourself right there.
You mentioned before about some sort of, I can't remember, maybe I'm confusing this, but did you have a background in esports or some sort of experience in that previously?
No, but one of our team does. My CIO, actually, a guy called Ian Tan, who's based in Malaysia, has got a deep background in esports. He set up an esports marketing agency, helping brands engage in that space, and then eventually started running his own tournaments and run a national level tournament himself. So we've got a guy on board who's really, really kind of knowledgeable in that space, and it is one of our kind of core pillars of our strategy, I guess, is to really help games plug into that space. I mentioned kind of competitive gaming being a focus, and obviously that feeds in really, really strongly. When it comes to the technology, the SDK essentially has a module which is an esports tournament system. So any game that's built, could be a racing game, fighting game, whatever, can plug into that module and essentially run either their own grassroots esports leagues and start building up a player base and a competitive element of league esports leagues, and then start running their own kind of bigger tournaments all through the tournament system. So we've really used the knowledge of like understanding that space and building kind of grassroots communities for games so that they can then kind of escalate and build up to running bigger, potentially World Series level events, or using the inbuilt tournament system. So that's a kind of strong point for us to lean on.
Is that a major part of the overall protocol? What else have you got on the roadmap apart from the Counter-Strike-esque game that you mentioned?
Yeah, so once the SDK is, we're using that using our game as a proof of concept to really connect the two, right? So we're using our SDK to connect our game so that it can be part of our public beta. And then our real focus will then be around making sure that we're building all the right partnerships and onboarding more games into the ecosystem, so that we can, really help as many game studios bring new titles and help publish them on DisruptionX. So the core focus will be the SDK. Obviously, the different modules of the SDK are things like the data science, like the esports tournament system. I guess the basic and first module is around helping them connect their game up to the ecosystem, up to Web3. So there's several different modules that will help enhance the game for each of the developers.
Fair enough. Is that when are you anticipating the beta you mentioned, or is that not being disclosed just yet?
I think the last time we spoke, actually, we talked about timelines, and you said to always double them, which
I still hold by that.
Turned out to be true. But so realistically, I think end of Q1, going into Q2, will be the point where we've got public access to a beta, which will be our game using our SDK. And then at that point, we'll also be able to start onboarding other games using the SDK. So I think realistically, we're still 4, 5, 6 months away from that full launch. And then we'll target a Q2, Q3 TGE for DisruptionX as well.
Nice. And hopefully the market is being kind to us at that point.
I guess we have the flexibility to try and time that. I mean, it's impossible to time the market with something so big as a launch, but I think thankfully, we're using this downtime wisely to focus on the build, focus on the product. We've almost intentionally done no marketing up to this point, so that we can really just, be working behind the scenes to build the product. And we've been through the process of, scoping, building, developing, and we've even got a working MVP for the portal, which is up and running. So we're showcasing that to a few people behind the scenes already, and getting some good feedback. So the next point is the SDK, and then the integration with game studios.
Good stuff. And to the audience, I can see there's already a few questions in the comments, but just in case, make sure that you do ask, because what always tends to happen at the end is that I go to wrap up and then somebody cuts in just beforehand. But we do have one more question, very broad and very philosophical one for you here. What do you think the future of gaming holds?
The future of gaming holds. I think we're all here because we believe that there will be an iteration of gaming, which is Web3 gaming, right? So I think that's the reason we're all here in this space. I think what Web3 gaming needs to do a better job of going forward is making sure that there's a really clear value proposition for the gamer. And to some degree, I think, if I kind of take my crypto hat off, I think gaming as a whole has been quite hard on the gamer in terms of, the monetary side of things. There's so many kind of DLCs that are, just been huge cash grabs by traditional Web2 gaming, that they've given gaming quite a bad name. And I think they see sometimes Web3 as trying to do the same thing. And I think we've got a big kind of focus on education that we need to do to really try to get the point across that Web3 is kind of on their side, on the side of gamers, because that point of ownership and the opportunity to kind of actually earn out of gaming rather than just spend on gaming, which it kind of is today, I think is more on the gamer's side than they really understand. So I think there's a really big point there that actually like ownership and gaming and is kind of on their side. So I think we can get there through education, but making the value proposition really clear, making the user experience really simple, and then like I said at the beginning, the catalyst hasn't existed yet, so whatever it is, we just need to be kind of ready and agile for the market to shift towards that avenue, because we don't need any more Axes and Lunas and Terras and FTXs to happen. We really just need to focus on like reducing the risk and making sure that it's a good experience for the next wave of people that do come on board.
Unfortunately, people's memory is very short, and the mistakes of the past are often repeated. History never repeats, but it often rhymes. unfortunately, yeah, greed is something that doesn't go away, and it will take in any form that it can, but it's about being on the side of the solutions, not on the problems.
Yeah, I did see talking about educational videos and like trying to win over the Web2 gamer. There was a really good video recently put out by Stephen Bartlett. He's got a CEO podcast as well, The Diary of a CEO. It's not as good as
It sounds awful. I don't think it'll be a good one.
this one, and he's definitely not bold either.
No.
But his business.
Me at everything.
What, sorry?
He's beating me at everything.
Yeah, he's got a few viewers, that one. But they put out a video recently for Third Web about gaming, and it finished with a line that said, "We're all owners," which I think was a really nice kind of simple way of putting it. That actually, Web3 gaming is on the gamer side, and the end goal is that we all own something in that, almost like investment in the game that we're playing. And then, of course, being an owner gives you the functionality to later sell it and move on and invest in something else, which I think is really like the big shift that needs to happen in gaming, is that to really understand that, Web3 is on the gamer side. So it's a good little video. I'll dig it out and send it to you.
Fine. If I have to watch another CEO, I'll critique it for you. But a good point by L in the comments. And something that I'm finding a lot when I am speaking to VCs or introducing projects to VCs on behalf of some of my advisory companies, the to-earn model has been tarnished. Also, a two-token model has been tarnished. Rightly or wrongly, I always stress to everyone that there's nothing wrong with a 4-token model. There's nothing wrong with a 3-token model or a 2-token or a 1-token. It's all about a well-designed economy. And if the economy is designed well, it doesn't matter about how many tokens there are. It's not that a one-size-fits-all, like 1-token good, 2-token bad, or 3-token bad. It's always, just if it's designed well, it will work. If it isn't, it won't. But on that subject, L says, do you think the ... to earn model is sustainable? Shouldn't it be ... and earn, making it optional so it doesn't close the gate on new players with less skill, on noobs?
Yeah, I think so. I think a really good point and a strong question. I think the reality of all gaming and Web3 orientated stuff is that there is a commercial monetary element to everything that we're talking about, right? Because that's just the direction that it's going. So I also don't like and I kind of hate the to earn models, all of these things that have come up, because I think they all just try to they try to simplify it down into a single model. And I think ultimately the kind of ownership element and kind of being part of the thing that you're experiencing is the more important part. So almost the ownership, I think, is more valuable than the earning in many of these scenarios, and that's the same across DeFi and Web3 gaming and all of the kind of blockchain elements. Is that ownership is kind of the most important element, because ownership naturally means that you can move on, sell the item, and do something different, right? So I think we should move away from giving every new model a new to earn title, and focus on that ownership point.
Custody is a good word.
Yeah, it sounds custody sounds
like it's made of custard.
I'm not thinking custard. I'm thinking like going to jail. I'm thinking like prison, being in custody. But
see, I was just thinking of like custody, as in like, oh, that looks viscous. There's a new word for everybody. We got one more, which is what data do you think must be fed into the AI to make the most accurate predictions on successful trends versus differences in approach? Obviously, it would depend a lot on what the AI is trying to do, but maybe you can generalize.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I like the person's username, Dump Me Daddy. That's a funny one. But I think that Venn diagram I talked about earlier is the holy grail. If you can really understand the gaming side of things in terms of gaming behaviors. So this is, what genres of game, what functionalities in individual games are making things work well, which types of game have, a better return base, people and longevity in terms of people experiencing it. And then you've got the commercial element of that okay, so those games are good, but are they buying assets? Are they trading assets? Ultimately, are they buying cosmetic items or upgrades and all of those types of like buying behavior? And then market sentiment and price, because ultimately it's all kind of crypto and it tied back to a token. So are those things influencing and positively influencing the token price? And if you can feed all of that into a model, you get some really good insights out around what's working well and why, what people like and what they don't like, and then you can build more of that stuff. So that's really the focus, I think.
Good stuff. Hopefully the successful trend is X's. X is on everything.
X on everything.
That is how
you're going to rebrand next week to vEmpire X.
Well, we've already got staked VEMP is XVEMP.
Oh, I see. Okay, there we go. So we're in the same family. We're good.
Way ahead of you. In fact, I think you copied us.
That was my goal. I'm just disappointed you noticed.
Yeah, can't get past me. Thanks so much for coming on. I'm going to check out the website now. As a reminder to those watching, it's immutableix.io. I presume that the Twitter at DisruptionX. Did I say?
Yeah, we've got _X. Disruption_X is our socials. We just launched those last week, so the content pushing live to. We're going to deep dive and explain what the solution is for our marketing and then start building out the community. We've got a whole bunch of partnerships in the guild, esports space, a number of different games that will get announced that are coming on board. So some good partnerships coming. And then as we head into the new year, of course, we ramp up our marketing as the market wakes up.
Good stuff. I can't remember if maybe it was in my head, but I thought I said DisruptionX.io, but then something in my head made me think I might have said immutableix.
You may have done. You can look at immutableix as well, but it's
we can look at how successful that one was and then relate it back. There we go. X's are the new meta. We've learned a lot.
Yep, good stuff. Well, thank you for having me back. Always a pleasure to catch up, and
welcome.
Hopefully, I'll make a third appearance later in the year once we're live.
Absolutely. Yeah, like and subscribe, everybody. Go and check out the website and follow on socials for the both of us. And have we got another Board CEO show before Christmas? Let's take a look on the calendar and see. We do not. So, to those watching, happy Christmas, and we will see each other before New Year. So, you're not getting that out of me. But yeah, have a good Christmas, everybody, to those watching now, and to you, Baz, and we will see you next time.
Cool. Thanks very much. Thanks, everyone. Merry Christmas. See you soon.
See you later.